Text 37. Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchaya. Hata, being killed, va, either, prapsyasi, you gain, swargam, the heavenly kingdom, jitva, by conquering, va, or bhokshasi, you enjoy, mahim, the world. Tasmad, therefore, uttishta, get up, kaunteya, O son of Kunti, yuddhaya, to fight. Krita, determined, nishchaya, in certainty. Translation. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Purport. Even though there was no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, he still had to fight for fight for even being killed there. He could be elevated into the heavenly planets. I'll read again. Even though there was no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, he still had to fight. For even being killed there, he could be elevated into the heavenly planets. Text 38. Sukhe dukkhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avapsasi. Sukha, happiness, dukkhe, and distress, same, in equanimity, kritva, doing so, labha labho, both profit and loss, jaya jayo, both victory and defeat, tata, thereafter, yuddhaya, for the sake of fighting, yujyasva, engage, fight. Na, never, evam, in this way, papam, sinful reaction, avapsasi, you will gain. Translation. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you will never incur sin. Purport. Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting, because he desires the battle. There is no concentration of happiness or distress, profit or loss, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone, nor is he a debtor to anyone, as one is in the ordinary course of activities. It is said, Devarshi bhutatmanam pitranam nayam kinkaro rini charajan. Devarshi bhutatmanam pitranam na kinkaro nayam rini charajan. Sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parehritya kartam. Anyone who has completely surrendered unto Krishna Mukunda, giving up all other duties, is no longer a debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone, not the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, nor kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers. Bhagavatam 11th Canto 5th Chapter 41st Verse. That is an indirect hint given by Krishna to Arjuna in this verse, and the matter will be more clearly explained in the following verses. Text 39. Esha te abhita sankhe buddhi yoge tva imam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Esha, all this, te, unto you, abhihita, described, sankhe, in an analytical study, buddhi, intelligence, yoga, in work without fruitive result, tu, but, imam, this, shrunu, just hear, buddhya, by intelligence, yuktaha, doubted, yaya, by which, partha, O son of Pritha, karma bandham, bondage of reaction, prahasyasi, you can be released from. Translation. Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can be free yourself from the bondage of works. Purport. According to Nirukti dictionary or the Vedic dictionary, Sankhya means that which describes things in detail, and Sankhya refers to that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. And yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting, because he thought that by not killing his relatives and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering his cousins and brothers. The sons of the Dhritarashtra, in both ways the basic principles were sense gratification. Happiness derived from conquering them and happiness derived by seeing kinsmen alive are both on the basis of personal sense gratification, even at the sacrifice of wisdom and duty. Krishna therefore wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul proper. And he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They were individuals in the past, they are individuals in the present, they will continue to remain individuals in the future. Because all of us are individual souls eternally, we simply change our bodily dress in different manners. But actually, we keep our individuality even after liberation from the bondage of material dress. An analytical study of the soul and the body has been very graphically explained by Lord Krishna. And this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described here as Sankhya in terms of the Nirukti dictionary. This Sankhya has nothing to do with the Sankhya philosophy of the atheist Kapila. Long before the impostor Kapila's Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy was expounded in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the true Lord Kapila, the incarnation of Lord Krishna, who explained it to his mother Devahuti. It is clearly explained by him that the Purusha or the Supreme Lord is active and that he creates by looking over the Prakriti. This is accepted in the Vedas and in the Gita. The description in the Vedas indicate that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti or nature and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. All these individual souls are working in the material world for sense gratification, and under the spell of material energy they are thinking of being enjoyers. This mentality is dragged to the last point of liberation when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. This is the last snare of Maya or sense gratificatory illusion. And it is only after many births of such sense gratificatory activities that a great soul surrenders unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, thereby fulfilling the search after the ultimate truth. Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as his spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. Shishyaste ham shadimam tvam prapannam. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga, or in other words, the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. This Buddhi Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10, as being direct communion with the Lord who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotional or transcendental loving service to the Lord, or in other words in Krishna consciousness, attains to the stage of Buddhi Yoga by the special grace of the Lord. The Lord says therefore that not only to those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does he award the pure knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, the devotee can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of God. Thus, the Buddhi Yoga mentioned in this verse is the devotional service of the Lord, and the word Sankhya mentioned here has nothing to do with the atheistic Sankhya Yoga enunciated by the impostor Kapila. One should not therefore misunderstand that the Sankhya Yoga mentioned herein has any connection with the atheistic Sankhya, nor did that philosophy have any influence during that time, nor would Lord Krishna care to mention such godless philosophical speculations. Real Sankhya philosophy is described by Lord Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but even that Sankhya has nothing to do with the current topics. Here Sankhya means analytical description of the body and the soul. Lord Krishna made an analytical description of the soul just to bring Arjuna to the point of Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapila's Sankhya as described in the Bhagavatam are one and the same. They are all Bhakti Yoga. Lord Krishna said therefore only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Sankhya Yoga pratak bhala pravadanti na pandita. Of course, atheistic Sankhya Yoga has nothing to do with the Bhakti Yoga, yet the unintelligent claim that the atheistic Sankhya Yoga is referred to in the Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore understand that Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service, one who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only. However difficult such work may be, he is working under the principles of Buddhi Yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself, without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. There is much difference between work in Krishna consciousness and work for fruitive results, especially in the matter of sense gratification, for achieving results in terms of family or material happiness. Buddhi Yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of the work that we perform. Text 40. Neha vikrama nashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam pyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Now there is not iha in this yoga, avikrama in endeavoring, nashaha loss, asti there is, pratavadya diminution, na never, vidyate there is swalpam, a little, api, although asya of this dharmasya occupation, trayate releases mahata from very great bhaya, danger. Translation: in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Activity in Krishna consciousness or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed, otherwise the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%, whereas in material activity without 100% success, there is no profit. Ajamila performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord. There is a nice verse in this connection in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17. Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam harer vajan apakvo atapate tato yadi yatrakva badram puramusya kim kovarda apo abhajatam swadharmataha. If someone gives up his occupation duties and works in Krishna consciousness, then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part, and what can one gain if one performs material activities perfectly? Or as the Christians say, what profiteth a man if he gain the whole world yet suffer the loss of his eternal soul? Material activities and their results end with the body, but work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness, even after the loss of the body. At least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmana or in a rich aristocratic family that will give one a further chance for elevation. That is a unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. Text 41. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahushakayi anantasya buddhayo vyavasayinam. Vyavasayatmika, resolute in Krishna consciousness, buddhi, intelligence, eka, only one. Iha, in this world, Kurunandana, O beloved child of the Kurus, Bahushaka, having various branches. He indeed, Ananta, unlimited, also Buddhaya, intelligence, Avyavasayinam, of those who are not in Krishna consciousness. Translation: those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. One, O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Purport: a strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Vyavasayatmika intelligence. The Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.62 says, Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudrida Nishaya Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Kritahaya. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship with the material world, with obligations to family traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reaction from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by the progressive Krishna consciousness. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on the knowledge Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. A person in Krishna consciousness is a rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches. So by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Service in Krishna consciousness is our best practice under the able guidance of a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna. and one should accept the instruction of bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instructs us in his famous prayers for the spiritual master as follows. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadanagati kutopi dhyayanstu vamstasya shastri sandhyam vande guru shri charanaravindam. The satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, becomes by satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, unto my spiritual master, unto him my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on the perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, and not theoretically, practically, when there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities. One who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. Text 42 to 43. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avapaschita vedavada parta nanya astiti vadina kamatmana swargapara janma karma falapradam kriya vishesha bahulam yogaishwarya gatim prati. Yamimam, all this pushpitam, flowery vacha, words, pravadanti, say avipaschita, men with a poor fund of knowledge. Vedavada rata, supposed followers of the Vedas. Partha, O son of Pratha. Na, never, anyat, anything else. Asti, there is. Iti, thus, Vadina, advocates. Kama atmana, desirous of sense gratification. Swargapara, aiming to achieve heavenly planets. Janma karma falapradam, resulting in good birth and other fruitive reactions. Kriya vishesha, pompous ceremonies. Bahulam, various. Bhoga, incense enjoyment. Aishwarya and opulence. Gatim, progress. Prati, towards. Translation. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Purport. People in general are not very intelligent, and due to their ignorance, they are most attached to the fruitive activities recommended in the Karmakanda portions of the Vedas. They do not want anything more than sense gratification proposals for enjoying life in heaven, where wine and women are available, and material opulence is very common. In the Vedas, many sacrifices are recommended for elevation to the heavenly planets, especially the Jyotishtoma sacrifices. In fact, it is stated that anyone desiring elevation to the heavenly planets must perform these sacrifices, and when men with a poor fund of knowledge think that this is the whole purpose of Vedic wisdom, it is very difficult for such inexperienced persons to be situated in the determined action of Krishna consciousness. As fools are attached to the flowers of poisonous trees without knowing the results of such attractions, unenlightened men are similarly attracted by such heavenly opulence and the sense enjoyment thereof. In the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, it is said, Apamasomam Amrita Abhuma and Akshayam Ha Vai Chaturmasya Yajina Sukritam Bhavati. In other words, those who perform the 4-month penances who become eligible to drink the somaras beverages to become immortal and happy forever. Even on this earth, some are very eager to have somarasa to become strong and fit to enjoy sense gratifications. Such persons have no faith in liberation from material bondage, and they are very much attached to the pompous ceremonies of Vedic sacrifices. They are generally sensual, and they do not want anything other than the heavenly pleasures of life. It is understood there are gardens called Nandana Kanana in which there is a good opportunity for association with angelic beautiful women and having a profuse supply of somarasa wine. Such bodily happiness is certainly sensual, therefore there are those who are purely attached to such material temporal happiness as the lords of the material world. Text 44. Bhogashwarya prasaktanam taya pritachetasam vyavasayatmika buddhir samadhau na vidiyate. Bhoga to material enjoyment, Aishwarya and opulence, prasaktanam for those who are attached, taya by such things, apaharita chetasam, bewildered in mind, vyavasaya atmika, fixed in determination, buddhi, devotion service to the Lord, samadho in the controlled mind, na never, vidiyate does take place. Translation. In minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotion service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Purport. Samadhi means fixed mind, and the Vedic dictionary, the Nirukti says, Samyak adhiyate asmin Atma Tattva Yatatmayam. When the mind is fixed for understanding itself, it is said to be in Samadhi. Samadhi is never possible for persons interested in material sense enjoyment and bewildered by such temporary things. They are more or less condemned by the process of material energy. Text 45. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavajuna Nirdandvo Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. Traigunya pertaining to the three modes of material nature, Vishaya on the subject matter, Vedaha, Vedic literatures, Nistraigunya, transcendental to the three modes of material nature, Bhava, to be, Arjuna, O Arjuna, Nirdvandva, without duality, Nitya Sattvasta, Nirdvandva, without duality, Nitya Sattvas, in a pure state of spiritual existence, Niryoga Kshema, free from ideas of gain and protection, Atma, established in the self. Translation. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. Purport. All material activities involve actions and reactions in the three modes of material nature. They are meant for fruitive results which cause bondage in the material world. The Vedas deal mostly with fruitive activities to gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane. Arjuna, as a student and friend of Lord Krishna, is advised to raise himself to transcendental position of Vedanta philosophy, where in the beginning there is Brahma Jigyasa, or questions on the supreme transcendence. All the living entities who are in the material world are struggling very hard for existence. For them, the Lord, after the creation of the material world, gave the Vedic wisdom advising how to live and get rid of the material entanglement. When the activities for sense gratification, namely Karma Kanda chapter, are finished, then the chance for spiritual realization is offered in the form of the Upanishads, which are part of different Vedas, as the Bhagavad Gita is a part of the fifth Veda, namely the Mahabharata. The Upanishads mark the beginning of transcendental life. As long as the material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. One has to learn tolerance in face of such dualities as happiness and distress, of cold and warmth, and by tolerating such dualities, become free from the anxieties regarding gain and loss. This transcendental position is achieved in full Krishna consciousness when one is fully dependent on the goodwill of Krishna. Text 46. Yavanartha udapane sarvata sampludodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanata. Yavan, all that, artha is meant, udapane, in the well of water, sarvata, in all respects, sampludodake, in great reservoir of water. Stavan, similarly, Sarveshu, in all, Vedeshu, Vedic literatures, Brahmanasya, of the man who knows the Supreme Brahman, Vijanataha, who is in complete knowledge. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the Supreme purpose behind them. The rituals and sacrifices mentioned in the Karmakanda division of the Vedic literature are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization, and the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 15:15. The purpose of studying the Vedas is to know the Lord Krishna is the supreme cause of everything. So self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with Him. The relationship of the living entities with Krishna is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 15.7. The living entities are parts and parcels of Krishna. Therefore, revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest perfection stage of Vedic knowledge. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33-7 as follows. O batasva pachogariyan yajjivagre vartate nam tubhyam te pustapaste juhu shashnurarya brahma nuchurnama grananti ete. O my Lord, O person who is chanting your holy name, although born of a low family like that of a Chandala, dog-eater, he is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to the Vedic rituals, and studied the Vedic literatures many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family. So one must be intelligent enough to understand the purpose of the Vedas without being attached to the rituals only. Mind must not desire to be elevated to the heavenly kingdoms for a better quality of sense gratification. It is not possible for the common man in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals, nor is it possible to study all of the Vedanta and Upanishads thoroughly. It requires much time, energy, knowledge and resources to execute the purposes of the Vedas. This is hardly possible in this age. The best purpose of Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, the deliverer of all fallen souls. When Lord Chaitanya was asked by great Vedic scholar Prakanand Saraswati why he, the Lord, was chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist instead of studying Vedanta philosophy, the Lord replied that his spiritual master had found him to be a great fool and thus asked him to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. He did so and became ecstatic like a madman. In this age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand Vedanta philosophy. The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting the holy name of the Lord. Vedanta is the last word in Vedic wisdom, and the author and the knower of the Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krishna. And the highest Vedantist is a great soul who takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism. Text 47. Karmanevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbur mate sangasta karmani. Karmani, in the prescribed duties, eva certainly, adhikara, right, te of you, ma never, phaleshu in the fruits, kadachana at any time, ma never, karma phala in the result of the work, hetu cause, bhu become, ma never, te you, sangha attachment, astu there should be, akarmani not doing prescribed duties. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. Purport. There are three considerations here: prescribed work, capricious work, and inaction. Prescribed duties are activities enjoined in terms of one's acquired modes of material nature. Capricious work means without the sanction of the authority, and inaction means not performing one's prescribed duties. The Lord advised that Arjuna not be inactive, but that he performs his prescribed duty without being attached to the result. One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause. One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. Thus, he is the enjoyer or sufferer of the result of such actions. As far as prescribed duties are concerned, they can be fitted into three subdivisions, namely routine work, emergency work, and desired activities. Routine work performed as an obligation in terms of scriptural injunctions without desire for results is action in the mode of goodness. Work with results becomes a cause of bondage, therefore such work is not auspicious. Everyone has his proprietary right in regard to prescribed duties, but should act without attachment to the result. Such disinterested obligatory duties doubtlessly lead one to the path of liberation. Arjuna was therefore advised by the Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the result. His non-participation in the battle is another side of attachment. Such attachment never leads one to the path of salvation. Any attachment, positive or negative, is a cause for bondage. Inaction is sinful. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna. Text 48. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddha siddhayo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Yogastha, equipoise, kuru, perform karmani, your duties, sangam, attachment, tyaktva, giving up, dhananjaya, O Arjuna, siddha siddhayo, in success of and failure, samaha, equipoise, bhutva, becoming, samatvam, equanimity, yoga, uchyate, it is called. Translation: perform your duty, equipoise, O Arjuna, above abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. Purport: Krishna tells Arjuna that he should act in yoga. And what is that yoga? Yoga means to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. And who is the Supreme? The Supreme is the Lord. And because he himself is telling Arjuna to fight, Arjuna has nothing to do with the results of the fight. Gain or victory are Krishna's concern. Arjuna is simply advised to act according to the dictation of Krishna. The following of Krishna's dictation is real yoga, and this is practiced in the process called Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness, only one can give up the sense of proprietorship. One has to become the servant of Krishna or the servant of Krishna. That is the right way to discharge duty in Krishna consciousness, which alone can help one to act in yoga. Arjuna is a Kshatriya and as such he is participating in the Varnashrama Dharma institution. It is said that in the Vishnu Purana that in the Varnashrama Dharma the whole aim is to satisfy Vishnu. No one should satisfy himself as is the rule in the material world, but one should satisfy Krishna. So unless one satisfies Krishna, one cannot correctly observe the principles of Varnashrama Dharma. Indirectly, Arjuna was advised to act as Krishna told him.